Tuesdays, Committee of the Whole, July the 2nd, 2019, 1 p.m. in Council Chambers. So there is no introduction of late items. Thank you. Could we please have a motion to accept the agenda? Thank you. Councillor Bennett, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. No delegations. One business item, and that would be the official community plan update, and that would be Ms. McKay.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'm very excited to be here today to present this because it means that we're officially launching our OCP review. So yeah, it's great. It's good news. So the purpose of this report is to provide Council with general information regarding the proposed process for the town's comprehensive official community plan review. So the town completed their current official community plan in 2008. Since then, Asus and the surrounding area have experienced increasing demand for single-family homes, multifamily homes, rental housing, and industrial development properties. The town has also completed an integrated community sustainability plan. That was in 2011. A community service master plan in 2014, trail and park master plan in 2017. We've also done a sewer capacity study, a medical feasibility study just this last year, water conservation plan, resort development strategy, which is of course on our agenda for later today, and a town center renewal plan just last year, and they will all provide input to our new OCP. So what is an OCP? Well, I'm glad you asked. An official community plan is a document that sets out high-level vision and policies for our community. The OCP is a primary tool that guides the future development of the community and serves as a foundation for all policies, regulations, and decisions about land use and development. OCP provides guidance for economic, environmental, and social well-being, the provision of amenities and services, and also transportation. It is, in fact, our blueprint and map for our community's future. All municipalities are expected to create and regularly update an OCP that reflects the community's values and provides direction for meeting anticipated needs. Municipalities are authorized to create and adopt the OCP through the Local Government Act. The Local Government Act also prescribes the general content and format of the OCP and sets out the process for adopting the plan. It contains a comprehensive policy framework that will guide physical, environmental, and economic and social and also cultural development of our community. So the OCP is one of the three fundamental elements of local government direction in BC. Okay, so along with the annual budget and the 5-year capital plan. So the three of them work together, which is, of course, really important. So a quick overview for you. Section 473 of the LGA, which identifies exactly what must be in the official community plan, and this includes approximate location, type, and density of residential development required to meet all of our anticipated housing needs for the minimum of at least the next 5 years. And again, type, location, amount of the present and proposed commercial, industrial, institutional, agricultural, recreational, and public utility lands. Also, the approximate location area for sand and gravel deposits, future for suitable extraction. Restrictions on the use of land subject to hazardous conditions and environmentally sensitive areas. Approximate location and phasing of any major road, sewer, and water systems. That would be to accommodate where you see your proposed future development. And then the approximate location and type of present and proposed public facilities for schools, parks, waste treatment plants, etc. And then any other matters that may come up as from the minister. So the OCP must also include housing policies in respect of affordable housing, and this just recently changed, that now this new provincial requirement took effect on April 16th and requires local governments to collect data, analyze trends, and present reports that describe current and anticipated housing needs within each BC community. So we've always had to have a housing component, but now they're getting a little bit more stringent about the content of that and the format of those housing reports. So this housing needs reports are a means for our communities to better understand their future and current housing needs. The reports can help identify existing and projected gaps in housing supply by collecting and analyzing quantitative and qualitative information about our local demographics, our economics, our housing stock, and any other factors. And then we're required, as I said, to consider the most recent housing needs report when we develop an OCP or a regional growth strategy. So the town of Asus is therefore preparing our housing needs report in conjunction with our OCP review. Now, technically, we could probably get away without doing this type of housing needs report, but then when we did our review in 5 years, we'd have to do one anyway. So, I mean, given some of the needs in our community that we've heard about and we're all fairly aware of, it only makes sense to do it now. And in recognition of that, council did set aside some money, so that's fantastic. So the impacts with respect to this report and our OCP review, with respect to the community, consistent, clear, and effective regulations and policies will contribute to achieving community objectives and vision. Public consultation is an integral part of the OCP process. We will ensure that there are several ways for the public to participate in this important project. Organizationally, the town received 8 proposals and a request for submissions from qualified professionals to aid in the preparation of a new OCP. Urban Systems was awarded the contract for this work. And town staff will be working closely with the consultant over the next year in the preparation of our new OCP. Council's approved an overall budget of $150,000 for the OCP review. Significant dates. So representatives from Urban Systems will be at Council on July 15th, so they'll be coming on our Committee of the Whole meeting. And topics for discussion with Council that day include the proposed timeline and the proposed public consultation process, so you all have an opportunity to see what we're proposing and provide some input into those processes. Sustainability, long-term environmental sustainability of Vesuvius Lake, and Vesuvius is a primary concern of our integrated community sustainability plan, and that will also be reflected in our new OCP. So this has just been prepared for information only, and I do have a quick little, just a little presentation, a PowerPoint presentation for you, which is just touches on some of the highlights that we just talked about and a couple other things. And the reason I'm doing this is because I wanted to kind of get us into the flow. I'll be coming forward regularly with this quick little PowerPoint presentation to keep you regularly updated on, pardon me?
Like a dashboard?
Yeah, a little bit, exactly like a dashboard. So again, this is...
We had some questions. Would it
Sure, I think, do you want to do it now, or do you want to wait till the end? There's only a few slides.
Yeah, let's watch this first.
Okay, sure.
Maybe they'll get at you.
I think it's going to be riveting. So, or not so much. Of course, I'm a planner, so it's riveting to me. So again, we're just going to talk briefly about what OCP is, what the Housing Needs Report is, and then the process overview, and then the next steps again are Urban Systems coming to see you all on the 15th. So this is a housing, our long-term vision, of course. Objectives and policies are included in our OCP, and again around housing, density, neighborhood character, economic development, transportation, parks and green spaces, and community facilities. And again, as we just discussed, the requirements are officially laid out in the Local Government Act. Thank you, Brianne. So why is it important? So it provides direction for the location, form, and character of future development, and it also addresses many aspects of sustainability and so forth as outlined here, environment. But what's also really important about official community plan is it provides a sense of security to developers and investors that are coming to our community, and also a sense of security to people that come and move to our community about, where they're going to be living, and they know that beside them is going to be a park, or in the future there's potential for a park or recreation facilities, and so that's one of the major components of an official community plan. It supports our community health and enhances the economy, and it's also about being fiscally responsible, so it helps us keep ourselves in check, so to speak. So I get this question a lot about how an OCP relates to the zoning bylaw, probably at least, almost daily. So an OCP is basically that identifies our preferred future land uses. It's our vision, and it's based on a review of the characteristics and values of our entire community. So that's the main ticket. It's our vision for the future. The zoning bylaw, it recognizes the current land use and prescribes our regulations. So one is regulatory and one is not. The zoning bylaw is the regulatory document that we have. So we can't put regulations per se in the official community plan. It is a vision. It provides policies that direct our regulations, such as our zoning bylaw. Thank you, Brianne. So I didn't take this photo last night, but it's pretty fantastic. It was kind of done on purpose. So how does it relate? How does our official community plan relate to federal and provincial regulatory bodies? Well, it has to be respectful and also has to be compliant with federal and provincial statutes and regulations, which is very important. The OCP, we can have recommendations or policies that address how we're going to work with senior agencies in respect of of those topics and importance within their jurisdiction. So we may always make sure that aligns, right? So whenever, this is the other reason we always have a review of our official community plan every 5 years. Even if we don't do a new official community plan, we should always be reviewing it because, as we all know, federal and provincial regulations change. So that's why it's always important to do an overview at least every 5 years. Thanks, Brianne. So then what is the housing needs report? So of course this is a means for community to understand our future and current housing needs, and the legislation specifically identifies how we're going to collect that information, how we're going to use the information. We're also required to publish our housing needs report online. So all communities in British Columbia are required now to publish their housing needs reports online, which is actually very interesting. And also, again, we're supposed to consider the most recent information when we're amending our official community plan. So we're actually ahead of the game. So briefly, the housing needs report has to include the statements about the key areas of local need, including affordable housing, rental housing, special needs housing, etc. So that's strictly laid out within the housing needs report guidelines. And also the number of housing units needed to meet our current and anticipated housing needs. So what we'll do is we'll look at our population growth, our growth patterns, and we'll make sure that we have the land set aside to meet the needs of all those different members of our community. So it's a very important report. And then, of course, the number and percentage of households in our core housing need and any extreme core housing needs. So extreme core housing needs are exactly what we know is happening in our community: lack of rental housing, lack of affordable housing, needs for temporary accommodation for our seasonal workers. Thanks, Brianne. So next steps, again, a presentation to Council on July 15th, at which time we'll have a discussion for the OCP review and also about the public consultation, and Council will have some opportunity to provide input and direction. And finally, any questions?
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, you had a question.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. So I kind of know the answer to this already. I have two questions. This review comes at a pretty heavy price tag for us. I mean, I get it and I understand and I support it. In addition to the consulting fee that we're going to pay, there's lots of staff time and lots of involvement that comes at a cost as well. And when we did ours in 2008, which was just doing my grade 3 math quite a few years ago, I'll figure it out eventually. The 5-year thing, so on an ongoing basis we do amendments, right, and we change things as needs come up and that type of thing. So if you're a council in Surrey and you have a big budget, this is not that big a deal. We're doing exactly the same thing that they're doing in a very small community with a very similar price tag attached to it, you know,
No.
perhaps. So my question is, if we're doing our due diligence on an ongoing basis and doing the amendments and the changes and that kind of thing, is there any way to avoid this cost coming up again? And one more question.
Sure.
I'm not sure if I stumbled through that first one so that you can even answer it. Does Victoria, our provincial government, review our unique OCP and sign off on it? Do they say good job, bad job, amend this, change this,
Okay, so
after we're done with it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go to the first question first. So the first question was about the cost. So I'd be very, very, very surprised if Surrey could do an OCP for $150,000. I think
I
we
should
might
have
be able to
rephrased
do.
it. Their per capita cost
Yeah.
is
Oh,
probably
lower.
considerably
I
less
see.
than what ours
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
So a couple things have happened in our community. So let's just talk about all those reports that we just mentioned. So those are all reports that have been prepared since our last official community plan was done. So the current official committee plan has not addressed any of those things that we just talked about: servicing, housing, the town center renewal plan, the sustainability plan. All of these items were done. Oh, the medical feasibility study. All really important items and issues in our community. So our current official committee plan does not touch on any of those. Our current official committee plan is, I would say, does not also address the changes in legislation over the last 10 years. 10 years is a long time to not at least have a review. And respectfully, when we talk about doing those little OCP amendments, that's actually one of the reasons that you do need to do a new official community plan. So if you find yourself as a community going back and revisiting your OCP repeatedly, that means it needs to be updated, that it's not addressing the current needs in the community. So we do need to do a comprehensive review. We need to compact it in a sense. We need to make it more user-friendly, again, addressing all those different items I just talked about. And then in 5 years from now, we can do another quick little review and just say, ask ourselves, is this still meeting our needs? Are we still addressing our community's needs in these different areas? And then we would say, well, has there been anything brought up over the last 5 years? Maybe one or two things. But if we do a really good job, we probably won't have to revisit it in this comprehensive manner for 10 to 15 years at least. So, and then the second question, which I've already forgotten, which is unfortunate.
Unless they reviewed.
Oh, yes. Okay, so it used to be, thank you, Mr. Romanko, it used to be that the province had to sign off on them, and they no longer have to do so. So they will check to make sure that you've done it, but they don't actually have to sign off on it. We do have to refer our official community plan to other bodies, though, like the Agricultural Land Commission. So the Agricultural Land Commission will do a review. So say, for example, we identify lands that we designate for other than agricultural purposes in our official community plan. They don't have to approve or disapprove it. They just say they don't agree with it. So they may or may not agree with some of the items that we put in our official community plan. And a good example of that is we brought forward an agricultural land application to council for the property on Lobelia. And you'll recall that in our report to council, we noted that this item had been identified in our previous OCP of 2008, at which time the Agricultural Land Commission noted that they had no objection to it being removed. So that's the kind of thing that would happen. So that was a long-winded way of answering your question, but I hope it helped.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. I had one thing that I wanted to mention, and I already did mention it to Ms. McKay. When I was at the regional district meeting the last time, a lady from the Anarchist Mountain Estates came and spoke to us about FireSmart. An initiative that they have up there, and it's likely more important up there where they be very careful about how they plant and how far away from things. And I mentioned that to Gina because I wondered if something like that might be included, and it didn't seem to fit into the other ones that you had listed here.
Right.
And I'm wondering.
So those are studies that we've already done, and so just so you know, a lot of ways that communities address concerns about fire is through what we call fire interface development permit guidelines.
Yeah.
We already have those
Good.
in our
So
current
everybody
official
that-
community plan.
Everybody that does a building and so on has to see that. And
Right, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
also interesting that you mentioned that it's probably less likely to affect us, and that's in fact what happens, is that we might bring that up or have a look at it, but that development permit, but because we don't have a lot of homes going up near large stands of trees, we're not really affected as much as other communities, like you say, like Anarchist Mountain.
But because we've had a drought last year and various other conditions, and possibly this year, I notice in driving around town that there are several areas where there are cedars and other trees that are dead. And my thinking is that makes fire more susceptible in those areas. And I'm wondering, would that be included in the discussion, or has that already been dealt with?
Well, we certainly have a discussion about it, but it's also good that you brought that up, because that also is part of our urban forestry planning process. So we'll have a conversation about that. Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Anybody else have a question? Councillor Rhodes.
Sorry.
That's
ELR property within our town boundaries, will we have an opportunity to review that?
yes.
And like intimately, or just
Yes,
as a...
and so that's a
whole?
very good question as
Yeah.
well, because you'll recall we just looked at that property on 36, and it would be a topic of discussion definitely, and it will certainly be, a topic of discussion around when we start talking about whether we're going to have enough land in our community to support our housing needs. Excuse me. We'll also be looking to designate the entire Meadowlark area as other than agriculture, as it's already been agreed to by the Agricultural Land Commission that area can come out for our future planning needs.
Would it be necessary on the 15th to bring that up as a point of review? Because I feel it's very important.
It is very important. I'm not sure if we really need to bring any specific items up like that. We're looking to discuss the process. And again, that's obviously a key item that we would be discussing with our community, and also how we're going to have that conversation with our community.
Okay. Councillor King?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess when you bring that up, there's a timeline to this project?
Yes. In a perfect world, we'll be sitting here and it will be completed by this time next year. So that's what
15 months.
That's what we're trying to do. Well, that's a year. We're trying to do a 12-year process. It's tough. It's tough, but what we're going to be doing is, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more on the 15th, but we plan on doing the first part of our consultation in September, early September, starting with the big kickoff meeting and then stakeholder get-togethers. And then myself, for sure, and possibly the senior planner will be going and doing what we call go-to meetings, where we'll go to other events that are happening. Maybe some of our local service groups, we would go and do a presentation. What is an OCP? What is a zoning bylaw? What's the difference? What are some of the things that might impact your members of your group, either individually or as an organization? So we'll do those as well.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much.
Well,
I know
thank you.
that you have a good handle on this, and we certainly look forward to hearing the presentation on the 15th and getting started with this. And we are all, I'm sure, willing to help in any way we can. Thank you very much, Ms. McKay. And I believe that's all we had on the agenda today. So could we please have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Councillor King, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you very much.
It is you.